A drama that took me on a roller coaster ride of emotions. A drama that shook my soul to its core. A drama that broke me and put me back together. It's To My Star Season 2. Hello my lovelies, this is your BLFANEDITS back again with a long-awaited video of the recap of To My Star 2. If you haven't seen To My Star 2, let me tell you a little bit about it. This is a sequel to Korean BL drama To My Star Season 1. After getting together in Season 1, brooding chef Han Ji-woo and charismatic film star Kang Sojun spent a blissful first year together. But suddenly on Sojun's birthday, Ji-woo breaks up with him by leaving a note behind that says, "Let's break up." The story begins from there. The second season of To My Star was well thought out. It was produced on a much bigger scale with a greater number of episodes, and the side characters also were written in depth, having their own personal stories and struggles. What I loved about this season was that it was not made to make you feel comfortable or make your heart flutter. This drama was brutally real and intimate. The writers decided to unclothe the characters and present us with their darkest and deepest insecurities, forcing us to open our eyes and look at their vulnerabilities. Many people complained about how harsh Ji-woo was with Sojun, including me. But when I sat down after finishing the season, I realized that Ji-woo being harsh was probably more painful for Ji-woo than it was for Sojun. I will start this recap by going over each episode and pointing out certain scenes that made me emotional and evoked complex feelings in me. Let's start with the first episode. The first episode was started with high expectations. I was so ready to see a deeply in love couple going about their ordinary lives, loving and supporting each other. But as soon as the episode begins, we were hit by a distraught Sojun, who still hasn't come to terms with the fact that Ji-woo ghosted him a year ago. Sojun is working doubly hard at his job, but he seems to have lost the love he has for his craft. He lacks motivation and is only doing his job to distract himself from thinking about Ji-woo all the time. Once again, I absolutely loved Pil-yoon and Ho-min's characters. They are two rock-solid support systems in Sojun's life that unconditionally love and care for him despite the decisions he makes. Maybe Ji-woo was also looking for this kind of friendship and familiarity that led him to go back to his hometown. Granted that there were certain bad memories in this little village, but this is where Ji-woo's parents were buried. This place was what they called home, and they say no matter what you do, you can never outgrow your hometown. Sojun is looking for closure. He wants to know the reason behind Ji-woo's sudden departure from his life. Sojun is a very open and honest person, unlike Ji-woo, who is a closed book. So Sojun decides that after a year of wallowing in his misery, he needs to find out where Ji-woo went so that he can go and ask him why he broke up with Sojun, and what was so lacking in their love that Ji-woo had to take this drastic step. So Sojun bullies Pil-yoon into finding out Ji-woo's location, and as soon as he gets to know where he is, he decides to drive down there in the middle of the night. Also, in every episode we get to see how their relationship was when they were together, and from the surface of it, everything looks perfect. Sojun is a devoted boyfriend who loves and cares for Ji-woo and makes time for him even though his schedule is crazy busy. Ji-woo also looks happy and satisfied living with Sojun. He does seem a bit timid, but due to his personality, we can't tell whether he's happy or suffering inside. Their cute little fights, their cuddles together, they make the first few episodes even harder to watch, because as a viewer, you can't seem to figure out what the hell went wrong. The first episode ends on a shocking note. Sojun reached Ji-woo's house in the village, and as soon as they come face to face, a mother and daughter duo arrives and even calls Ji-woo dad. I was mad as hell at this moment. I could not believe Ji-woo has a daughter of this age. That means he left them in the village and worked in Seoul all this time, and even got in a relationship with Sojun. Bad things started going through my head, and it didn't help that we had to wait a whole week for the next episode. This was probably one of the worst cliffhangers in a BL for me. Thankfully, the mystery of the girl and her mother was resolved in the first scene of the second episode. I do like this mother-daughter duo a lot. They were very supportive towards Jiwoo and one of the only few people who kept defending Jiwoo in front of the elders in the village. I feel like Jiwoo also needed some people by his side who gave him emotional support. He was tired of just relying on Sojun for comfort. Although the ghosting breakup was a bad move, I do agree that he needed to go to find his identity and find his people before he could fully commit to loving Sojun with all his heart. Jiwoo's coldness towards Sojun inside the house struck like a dagger in not only Sojun's heart but the viewers too. His reasonings for breaking up with Sojun didn't sound very convincing, and that left Sojun with even more questions than what he came with. Sojun found his shirt on Jiwoo's bed. I imagine Jiwoo wearing Sojun's unwashed shirt to feel his smell and his presence in his life. But of course, a guy like Jiwoo would never admit that he also missed Sojun like crazy. So he pretended that he didn't care about the shirt and even said that he threw away the ring that Sojun gave him. Sojun made a feeble attempt to hold on to the last bit of dignity he had left by taking the shirt along with him. My heart broke many times for Sojun while watching this drama, but this moment was one of the most heartbreaking moments of this show for me. The next morning, Sojun shows up at Jiwoo's restaurant, and here he notices that Jiwoo's restaurant is not doing that well. He knows Jiwoo inside out, and so he immediately understands that Jiwoo's distant and cold personality, combined with the villagers' hostility towards Jiwoo's parents, has resulted in Jiwoo's business not being profitable. However much Sojun resents Jiwoo for breaking up with him, he can't help but feel responsible for him, and so he makes it a mission to help Jiwoo in getting more customers to his restaurant. Here we also start seeing signs of how much Jiwoo also loves Sojun. Sojun loves Italian food, and so he runs an Italian restaurant. The name of the restaurant is Te Aspetto, which means I wait for you. When I realized the meaning behind this name, I bawled my eyes out. Jiwoo wanted Sojun to find him. He wanted Sojun to chase after him again, kind of like reminding him not to take his presence in his life for granted. Sojun goes back to Seoul but can't help miss Jiwoo, so he makes up an excuse to call out Jiwoo to him. He asks Jiwoo to come to collect all his belongings. Jiwoo goes to meet Sojun in Seoul, where he encounters his ex-girlfriend, who he also ghosted years ago. Sunghyun is now a head jewelry designer for a famous jewelry brand that Sojun is endorsing. Sunghyun goes to the village in hopes that she can reconnect with Jiwoo and rekindle her relationship with him. Sojun is of course jealous of Sunghyun because Jiwoo treats Sunghyun with kindness and is hostile towards Sojun. I feel like this is a major indicator that Jiwoo no longer has any kind of romantic connection or feeling left for Sunghyun. He doesn't really care about her, and that's why he's amicable towards her. Whereas with Sojun, it's completely different. Jiwoo is still madly in love with him. He pushes and pushes Sojun's buttons, kind of like an immature child who is asking for attention from his mother. Let me tell you something, guys. Jiwoo can only be this immature and childish towards Sojun because he has complete belief that Sojun will never give up on him, no matter what he does or how far he pushes his boundaries. This is ideally what you want in a relationship. You need a partner in front of whom you can let your inner child out, the one in front of whom you can be completely unreasonable and still have the confidence that they will love you unconditionally. Jiwoo lost his parents at a young age, so he grew up pretty fast. He never had the chance to be a spoiled kid, and so subconsciously he's clinging on to Sojun to be that pillar of strength for him, to be that emotional teddy bear that he can sometimes hug and sometimes kick around. Sojun can't stay in Seoul anymore knowing where Jiwoo is, and so he moves into Jiwoo's front yard and lives in his caravan. Jiwoo is disturbed by this. He could endure staying away from Sojun for so long because Sojun was far away in Seoul. How can he live apart from him when he's right in front of his eyes every day? Sojun, on the other hand, has a completely different mindset to Jiwoo. Now that he can see Jiwoo's face every day, his nerves have calmed down. His focus at work has become better, and he can finally have a good night's sleep. Meanwhile, Jiwoo stays awake all night, agonizing over the distance he has to keep from Sojun because of the decision he made. Jiwoo's friend's daughter Yuha runs away from home one day. Sojun is deeply worried and disturbed by this as he was the one taking her home when she ran away. Sojun keeps searching for Yuha madly until she was found hiding in her home. When Jiwoo tells Sojun that Yuha has been found, he breathes a sigh of relief. Ever since Sojun came back to him, Jiwoo has been holding in all these feelings he has for Sojun deep in his heart. When he looks at Sojun's innocent and honest face, worried for a stranger's child, Jiwoo's inner feelings threaten to come out. I know majority of you lovelies will disagree with me, but in my humble opinion, Jiwoo loves Sojun way more than Sojun loves him. Jiwoo loved him so much that he lost himself in Sojun. Sojun became his world, and when he did not get the same amount of attention from Sojun, he felt ashamed of who he had become. So he went away to find himself again, kind of like challenging himself to have a life outside of Sojun's world. But when he found Sojun so adorable in this moment, he couldn't help but grab his face and kiss him hard. This was a kiss of longing. They were trying to tell each other how much they missed one another during this whole year. Jiwoo is really bad at expressing himself with words, so this is how he chooses to show his love and appreciation towards Sojun. Sojun and Jiwoo spend the night together. The next day, both Jiwoo and Sojun are flustered by what happened last night. Jiwoo is upset because he slipped and gave in to his desire for Sojun when he promised himself to stay away from him. Meanwhile, Sojun now has a tiny glimmer of hope that Jiwoo has decided to get back together with him. In the evening, Jiwoo comes back home from the restaurant to find Sojun in the house making dinner for him. Jiwoo thinks that he has to nip this little progress between them in the bud, so he amps up the hostility factor and decides to be downright cruel to Sojun. I cannot justify this behavior of Jiwoo. This scene was just so hard to watch. He did not let Sojun have even a bite of the food that he made so lovingly for Jiwoo. All the cruel things that Jiwoo says to Sojun in this scene were too much to bear. My heart hurt for Sojun in this scene. Jiwoo was trampling Sojun's heart under his foot and leaving him broken and drained. Jiwoo's actions here feel like revenge from all the time Sojun unknowingly made him feel lonely and insecure. Of course, none of it is Sojun's fault. Jiwoo is just a bad communicator. He never communicated his true feelings and insecurities to Sojun, and in real life, people like that do exist. It doesn't mean that these types of people do not deserve love or should not get into a relationship. It just means that these type of people deserve a partner like Sojun in their life, who doesn't give up and keep holding on. Songyun, Jiwoo's ex, asks Sojun's help to prepare Jiwoo's restaurant for the cooking variety show. Sojun brings Pilyun along with him to help clean the storage room. Jiwoo's face is hard to read, but it looks like Jiwoo is happy and relieved that Sojun didn't go away even after getting hurt by Jiwoo's words. Did you guys notice that during this entire scene when Sojun was praising Pilyun and the way they were both playing around and joking, Jiwoo was looking at Sojun the entire time. He was jealous of Pilyun. For Jiwoo, Sojun's smile belongs only to him and no one else. This is a big reason Jiwoo could not handle being with Sojun, because he couldn't see him being charming towards others. After the work was finished, they all sat down to have dinner together. Dakyung accidentally tips a glass over, but Jiwoo immediately caught it as if by reflex, because he knows that breaking glass is a trigger for Sojun. Seeing this, Sojun's lost hope rises again. He feels that Jiwoo still cares for him. Sojun tries to convince Jiwoo to get back together with him and says that he will try to fix all the complaints Jiwoo has with him. This is when Jiwoo reveals the real reason behind leaving Sojun. He reveals that he felt lonely when he was in a relationship with Sojun, and that's why he ran away. They get into a massive argument, and for the first time since coming back to Jiwoo, Sojun realizes that maybe their relationship is unmendable. Maybe it's too late to fix anything between them. A cooking variety show has to be filmed at Jiwoo's restaurant. In this show, Sojun is appearing as a guest. The show features unprofitable restaurants and gives solutions on how to make them profitable. We have seen so far that the elderly people in the village are unkind towards Jiwoo because of his parents. In the flashback, we see that Jiwoo's father's ex-colleague came to visit once in the village. He befriends all the people in the village and scams them of their savings. Jiwoo's parents had no idea that this guy was a scammer. The man ultimately got convicted, but the villagers still held a lot of resentment towards Jiwoo's parents. And because of that, ahead of the filming of the variety show program, Sojun visits these villagers with presents and makes every effort to charm them and befriend them so that they support Jiwoo in the success of his restaurant. If this isn't true love, I don't know what is. The variety show was successfully filmed, and while Sojun and Jiwoo were returning home, Yuha and Songyeon met them on the street, and Yuha showed Jiwoo an interview Songyeon did of showing her signature couple bracelet design and how she designed it for the love of her life. The first thing Jiwoo does after he sees the video is look at Sojun to see his reaction. He is not moved by what Songyeon said in the video. He is concerned about the feeling of Sojun after hearing this. While Sojun is getting ready to drive back to Seoul, he sees Songyeon going to Jiwoo's house. Curiosity gets the best of him and he decides to overhear their conversation. I wish Sojun didn't hear this conversation because he was truly hurt by what was said. He hears them reminiscing about their relationship and realizes that Jiwoo and Songyeon also had a deep and heartbreaking love story. It is at this moment that Sojun truly decides to give up on Jiwoo. Sojun leaves before the conversation between Jiwoo and Songyeon ends. Jiwoo makes it clear to Songyeon that he has no intention of getting back together with her, and he doesn't harbor any romantic feelings for her anymore. It is unfortunate that Sojun doesn't hear any of this. Sojun says a heartbreaking goodbye to Jiwoo and tells him that he's officially giving up on him. Jiwoo's heart breaks in this moment and he remembers some of the events during his relationship with Sojun where he felt unwanted and a burden to Sojun. As an introvert, I can confirm that you end up emotionally relying a lot on your other half, and when you don't get reciprocation from your partner, it breaks your heart because you have no one else in your life to depend on. So this is where we start seeing how the cracks formed in their relationship and why Jiwoo took the decision to leave. Jiwoo's variety show episode becomes a hit and people started flocking to his restaurant. Sojun is devastated after the reality of his breakup with Jiwoo hits him. He is not able to give his 100% to his work and ends up having a verbal spat with the director of the drama he is working in. The director is a massive jerk and so he spreads false rumor about Sojun's behavior at work and even fires him from the drama. This rumor spreads like wildfire and it starts impacting Sojun's reputation in the industry. People stop associating with Pilyun and his company and Sojun stops getting work. Meanwhile, Jiwoo is still missing Sojun and the news about him is bothering him. Everywhere he looks, he sees Sojun's radiant face that shines like a bright star amongst the darkness. Sojun's mental condition is getting worse after being fired from the drama and not getting work. His triggers and panic attacks have come back too. Jiwoo's restaurant had just started picking up when someone from the village spread this false rumor that Jiwoo's parents were scammers. News quickly spread and once again Jiwoo's restaurant became empty. The cooking variety show had pulled out and were not taking Sojun again as guest, but Pilyun somehow convinced them to film the solution episode again to save Sojun's career. So once again, Sojun came to the village to film the solution episode at Jiwoo's restaurant. The filming was successful. After the filming, Jiwoo came to Sojun to ask how he was doing. Jiwoo is concerned for Sojun and Sojun is concerned for Jiwoo, but both are in a helpless situation where they both cannot express their true feelings. When Jiwoo came to Sojun, Sojun understandably gives him the cold shoulder, which for the first time shocks Jiwoo and he is taken aback. Although Sojun snubs Jiwoo, he still can't stop caring about him. So he asks him to live freely and not to hide anymore. He asks him to not be afraid when he knows his parents were not in the wrong. This makes Jiwoo even more sad and guilty. All this interaction was witnessed by Jiwoo's ex-girlfriend Songyeon, and by the look on Jiwoo's face, Songyeon understood that Jiwoo was still in love with Sojun, and this is where she finally decides to give up on Jiwoo. Jiwoo goes home and digs out his old cell phone. As soon as he switches it on, Sojun's text messages start popping up. Jiwoo realizes that Sojun never forgot about him. He kept getting worried for him and kept missing him. Jiwoo finally realizes what he had done and decides to get back together with Sojun. This scene where Jiwoo is crying makes my heart burst with sorrow. Jiwoo finally felt wanted in the relationship. He also feels guilty for what he had done. He's confused as to how things went this far, but all in all, he's now desperate to get back together with Sojun. Jiwoo goes back to Seoul to talk to Sojun, but Sojun doesn't look like he's in mood to listen. Jiwoo even bought ingredients to make saffron risotto for Sojun, which we all know is Sojun's most favorite dish. Now the upcoming scene is my most favorite scene of this entire series. This scene is where Jiwoo truly opens up his heart in front of Sojun and asks him to love him once again. Jiwoo truly became vulnerable and cried his eyes out like a baby in front of Sojun. The wall he had built up was broken, and for the first time in their entire relationship, Jiwoo became vulnerable in front of Sojun. Real relationships rarely have an equal power dynamic, and this clearly shows in this couple. The only way this opposite couple can work is if one bends a little bit for the other. We all know what Jiwoo did with Sojun was wrong, but the environment that Jiwoo was thrown into after getting into a relationship with Sojun was also not conducive to a happy relationship. Jiwoo behaved like a child in front of Sojun because he knew Sojun is the only one who will not leave him or judge him or reprimand him for his actions. The rest of the episode we see that both Jiwoo's and Sojun's rumors turned out to be false and their name was cleared. Jiwoo was now independent and so he became more confident in himself. He also lowered his pride and changed for the better. He started using the car Sojun gave him, took time off from his restaurant to be with Sojun, expressed himself more, especially when he got jealous, and overall became happier and satisfied in his relationship with Sojun. When I think of their future, I think that Sojun and Jiwoo maintained a happy, loving relationship for the rest of their lives. Sojun keeps working in Seoul and often came to the village to meet Jiwoo. Jiwoo also took 2 days off every week to go and meet Sojun. They went on holidays together, and once Sojun entered into his 50s, he decided he has earned more than enough money to live a comfortable life with Jiwoo, and so he retires from the film industry and goes to live in the village with Jiwoo. They run the restaurant together and also purchase an allotment to grow their own vegetables and fruits. This is how their love story ends for me. Jiwoo and Sojun will always remain the most memorable BL couple for me. I could relate to their characters on a very intimate level, and the story touched my heart. I loved season 2 of To My Star more than season 1 because there were many poignant moments that moved me, broke my heart, and made me smile. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you did, please give me a like and subscribe to watch more videos like this. Till next time, bye.